Remember Papillon and how much she wanted freedom. This is what we're missing out on.
Survival is not enough. In a recent video, I spoke about how there seems to be a lot of people to whom the fundamental concepts of principles are totally foreign to them. There seems to be a great many people in our societies now who simply don't understand that a principle isn't something you use as a tool against others or to get your own way when it suits you, and then to discard it when it doesn't. It seems to be a completely incomprehensible idea to them that principles are for life and always go both ways. Otherwise, it isn't a principle. It's incredible to me that it seems to have genuinely never occurred to quite a lot of people that if they don't like something to be done to them, that they should therefore not do it to others. Even if they've never heard of Jesus and his golden rule of do unto others as you would have done unto you, I just can't fathom how anyone could have made it through childhood and into adult life without having worked this out for themselves. Yet it seems so many haven't even considered the question, let alone come to an answer that would form the foundation of any kind of moral framework. Now I want to talk about another principle for life, and that is the right to live your life free from the interference of others who think they have the right to decide what's best for you, and that it's irrelevant whether they are well-intentioned or even genuinely trying to keep you safe from harm. Unless we are children, then we get to decide what we do for ourselves, even if we bring ourselves into danger or harm by our own choices. Many people don't seem to understand that life without danger is a life without freedom. A life with total security from injury or disease is a sterile life. A life where you're restricted in everything you can do because someone else has decided it's for your own health and safety is an eternal prison. What's the point of having a life if someone else tells you how you must live it? What's the point of surviving if it's just to exist? What is the point of having children if their lives will just be engaged in pointless, monotonous servitude to the system? A life where someone else assumes the right to do to you what they say is best for you is tyranny, even if their intentions are actually what they sincerely believe is in your best interest, or more typically, in the best interests of the common good. This is the dystopian reality, which those who say they mean well, but mean to rule, are bringing to fruition right now. And I don't know anyone who even understands the principle which is at stake here, let alone is willing to nail his colours to the mast. There are many who say, oh, let them come to my door, I'll be ready for them. But they're deluded. By that stage, the fight for the hearts and minds of people and nations will be over. Before any of that, any of us who value freedom, without any qualifications or restrictions, addendums or curtailments, better voice our objections loudly. I was talking to a friend of mine recently, a big giant of a man with arms like tree trunks, who I once saw separate two drunken men fighting in a bar by picking them up by their collars and keeping them at arm's length so they were no longer able to reach each other. And he was complaining passionately about what the government were doing and how they had no right to take away our freedoms like this. I thought, of course, yes, this man, who comes from a noble stock of generations of men who fought for the right to live in peace on their land, free from interference, was going to be disgusted and outraged with being made a prisoner in his own home until such time as the government decided it was safe for him to be allowed out. To my great disappointment, however, after talking to him for a bit longer, I discovered that he was only upset that the government had closed the bars and the liquor stores and banned the sale of cigarettes, because this affected his ability to drink and smoke. It turned out he was only ranting and raving because his supply was running out. Alas, despite all the tales of courageous battles and noble deeds of his ancestors, the only thing that he was affronted by was that his soother had been taken away. Whatever about all the other cowards who sometimes like to talk the talk but never walk the walk, he would be quite happy to let the powers that be do whatever they wanted to do, as long as he could ignore it. But for that, he needed his supply of alcohol and tobacco. And I would say that is what it comes down to for a lot of people. If there's a problem, then let someone else deal with it, is the attitude. Let someone else stick their neck on the line. Let me engage in some addiction or distraction of some kind or another, which will help me to pretend like it's not happening. If I can dull my senses, then I can dull the pain. If I can think less sharply, then the thing I don't want to think about will become more hazy. Well, I want to make it clear. I want to remind you what is at stake here. It's not just your life, it's the very idea of life as we know it. It's not just your right to live free, but it is your duty to ensure freedom for future generations. What if there's a child, perhaps he's not born yet, who one day wonders why everything is just the way it is, and why people in history didn't say anything to object to the system, which he now finds himself alone in? All around him are people with no light behind their eyes. They're just blind order followers. He wants to escape. He dreams of escaping. But where is there to escape to? If you're still alive, really alive, then you will want to escape this future with every fibre of your being.